So Stellar Blade is finally here. The build up to this game has been super exciting, and after around 12 or so hours of playtime so far, I have found out a lot of stuff that I kind of wish I knew a little bit earlier, as it would have saved me a lot of time and hassle. And there's also some stuff I think I actually may have missed earlier on in the game too. So today we're going over 10 things I wish I knew sooner in Stellar Blade. Now the first one is super simple, but this is very easy to miss, and this is the fact that you can reset your skill tree at any given point, and it essentially only costs 200 gold, which is not very much at all. Anytime you're at a shop, which can obviously be found at any of the campsites that you get to throughout the story, this item here, the SP Initializer, allows you to reset your skill tree at any given moment, and also refunds all of your SP, which for those who don't know are your skill points. So this is something that I didn't know, and I had some stuff that I wanted to change from the demo build that I just thought I wouldn't be able to do, or at least not until later on when maybe there was a genuine respec option. But it turns out that the respec option was literally hiding under my nose the entire time. So do not miss out on this if you guys have paid any attention. I'm sure you probably found this on your own, but if you do want to change anything in your skill tree, this is the way to do it. Now, speaking of the skill tree, something that I wish I knew earlier is that the ambush skill is absolutely essential, and you should be unlocking this pretty much as soon as you possibly can, as this will allow you to stealth kill enemies. It only costs 1 skill point, and you can essentially get this almost straight away as soon as you unlock some skill points. I've found a lot of times where I'm really low on health and I'm trying to get to the next campsite, and I sort of wished early on that I could stealth kill some of these enemies, but I couldn't do it because I didn't have this skill unlocked, and therefore I had to get into open combat and ended up dying multiple times. So if you guys want that ability to be able to play stealthily when you are low on health, for example, this is an absolute must. You can also get the chain charge skill as well, and this will allow it to be almost a 2 birds with 1 stone type of ability, where you can get 1 stealth kill and then chain that to another enemy, which is also a 1-hit kill. So both of these are absolutely essential for those moments when you really don't have the health to be getting into combat. Now the next one is very simple, but for anyone who maybe doesn't play these games all that often, it is very easy to miss. Any boxes that you guys see around the levels, you should be smashing every single box. There are a lot of items in these boxes that you actually need to make nano suits and even upgrades for your character, and it is literally as simple as attacking those boxes, which will then smash them and give you those parts. So again, I'm sure a lot of you guys figured that out already, but for anyone who's maybe newer to this type of game, that is something you absolutely want to be doing. Now, speaking of boxes, there are also these smaller boxes that you need to be keeping an eye out for, because these contain the exo spines, and they are so small that they are very easy to miss. Now, usually they are in areas where they're going to be most of the time guarded by enemies, so it is a little bit obvious in that sense that if you go into an alleyway and it's got a dead end, for example, and there's some enemies there, generally you want to be looking around that area because it may contain one of these boxes, and this is the only way that you can unlock these exo spines, which can pretty much change the way that your character plays and allows you to upgrade Eve very, very easily. So keep your eye out for these boxes. They are more almost like a briefcase. You do not want to be missing them. Now, before we go any further, if you guys are enjoying the video so far and you are new to the channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button. There is plenty more Stellar Blade content on the way, so make sure you don't miss out. Now, the last tip was to do with boxes, and this is actually another tip to do with a different type of box, and this is these boxes here that you can see that has the sort of red holographic tape around it. Now, when I first saw one of these, I just thought that this was something I needed to come back to later. It had a number on it, and I thought maybe I needed to get a certain skill to a certain level or something to unlock this, but that is not the case at all. When there is a number on one of these boxes, that means that you need to kill that amount of enemies who are generally in that vicinity, and once you've killed that amount of enemies, the box will open. And there are a few of these early on in the game that you can definitely miss, which I don't think you can ever really go back to, because this game does kind of lock you out of a little bit of content as you progress through the story. So if you see one of these boxes, take a look at the number, be sure to kill that amount of enemies. As you can see, this box said 3, I killed 1 enemy, went back to it and it said 2, and then I just simply killed those final 2 enemies, went back to the box and it was unlocked. And that is how you unlock these bad boys. Something else you guys should know is that the lingering potions are kind of the potion you want to be prioritizing whenever you can. You want to be saving your rechargeable tumblers for those more intense moments like a boss fight or where there's heaps of enemies, because those obviously give your health back in one go, whereas the lingering potion kind of does it over time. The reason this is so important is that if you use a lingering potion, it will kind of recharge your health by the time you get to that next fight. And so it is best to use those whenever you can and whenever you're more in a safe situation, because you want to be saving those rechargeable tumblers for, like I said, a boss fight where you need that health instantly. So don't waste those rechargeable tumblers, and same goes for the extra health kits that give you more HP. Anything that gives you health immediately, you want to be saving those for those intense moments. Something else worth noting is that you definitely want to be going off the beaten path whenever you can, as there is actually a lot of missable items that you will likely never come back to unless you want to do that stuff at a later date. There are plenty of really good items to find, whether that is stuff like nano suits, for example, or even upgrades for Eve as a character, and these are often very missable, as well as the fact that, like I said, from a lot of people I've heard who played the game early, there are multiple times throughout this game where you get to a point and you can actually no longer go back to where you previously were, pretty much locking you out of some of that content without really giving you any warning. So this probably isn't the type of game you want to just beeline the main story. You definitely want to be going off the beaten path whenever you can, because like I said, in a lot of cases, you may miss something and you may never be able to get it again unless you do New Game Plus. Now, something that I definitely know I missed some of early on in the game is the beta cores, which allow you to pretty much increase your beta meter, and these are very easy to miss. I'm going to play a sound here and you want to be listening out for this specific sound. That sound right there, if you hear that at all, you want to go directly to that sound, and you usually just need to interact with a dead body on the ground. That will then give you that beta core and it will increase your beta meter, which essentially allows you to store more beta attacks, which can come in very handy when it comes to boss fights or even just taking out multiple enemies at once. So if you hear that sound, be sure to head to it straight away. You do not want to miss these, as like I said with the previous content, you may never be able to get them later on, and that can definitely hurt when it comes to the final bosses. Now, another tip to do with the skill tree is the focus boost skill, which you can find in the survival skill tree, and this makes perfect parrying even easier, as well as being essentially more efficient. Now, if you're really good at the game, you may not really need this, but this is really good for those of you who maybe don't play these sorts of games all that often, as it kind of just makes the combat a little bit easier and a bit more basic in the timing. And so for any of you guys who are struggling to time those perfect parries, definitely unlock this skill. It does cost 2 skill points, I believe, but it is absolutely worth it, and it will make the game a hell of a lot easier if you are struggling in that area. Now, the last tip I've got before I actually get into a bonus tip, which is to do with some settings, is to interact with pretty much everything that you can, as this is going to gain you guys heaps of XP for pretty much doing absolutely nothing at all. You can see here when I'm interacting with some of these dead bodies that just have like a message on them and stuff like that. It's only taking a few seconds and it doesn't really cause you to do anything, yet you do actually gain decent XP for this, and this can obviously turn into skill points, which is going to make Eve even stronger and help out later on in the game, where over the course of the entire game you may gain honestly like 5 to 6 extra skill points just from interacting with these dead bodies. And it's not just the dead bodies, it's pretty much anything you can interact with, because it seems like almost any interaction in this game does reward you with XP. So pretty much if you see something you can do, you want to be doing it straight away. Even if it seems insignificant, it will definitely give you some XP, and for me that is absolutely worth it. Now lastly, like I said, there are some settings I think it is worth changing, so I've thrown this in here as a bonus and I'll just quickly skim through these. In the gameplay settings, you want to turn the auto loot on. This is just going to make your life a little bit easier. When it comes to the display settings, you want to turn the graphics mode to either performance or balanced if you do really want to focus on the quality. Now, I know a lot of people might want to have the highest resolution possible, but in a game like this, it is absolutely worth having those extra frames, because that can help more than you'd probably think when it comes to perfect parrying. So it is definitely worth switching to performance or balance for that reason. It's also worth turning the camera shake down to 1. You probably want to have it on 1 instead of 0, just so you know when there is something going on, it will still shake the camera just a little bit. But from what I played in the demo when I hadn't changed this setting, the camera shake in this game is just absolutely absurd, and it feels like your literal house is moving around you. So turn that down to 1, it will save you a bit of a headache. And then lastly, I would say in the interface settings, turn the HUD background on. Obviously the HUD is white, or at least part of it anyway, when it comes to your health. And that means that if you're in a fight and the background is pretty light, then there's actually times you can potentially not see your health. So it is definitely worth having the HUD background on just to give a little bit better contrast. So those are 10 things I wish I knew sooner when it comes to Stellar Blade. Hopefully that helps you guys out, and if it did, like I said, be sure to subscribe for more Stellar Blade content. There is plenty more on the way. But with that being said, thank you all very much for watching. You guys have a great day, and I'll catch you all in the next one.